evening and welcome to tonight's episode of the Technovation Show. Tonight we explore what e-waste management actually looks like. Let's get into it.
Right. As mentioned, my name is Nancy Gethe. I'm the We Center manager, also in charge of business development. We Center is a leading ISO certified organization, and we specialize in the management of electronic waste in Africa and beyond. So somebody may ask, what is this we are talking about? What is e-waste? So electronic waste refers to any discarded electrical or electronic equipment. This, in simple words, is basically your old phones, computers, your household equipments, for example, the refrigerators, microwave, your heaters, all those items that are not functional anymore, or they've reached their end of life, or you just don't use them. So any of those items falls under electronic waste category. Now, this form of waste is growing very fast and is a concern globally, not only in Kenya. And this is because we have a very high appetite of going techie. So we are always upgrading our gadgets, whether it is the mobile phones or your tablets or your computers. But then most of us never sit back to think what happens to your very first phone that you had, or your computer that you had. So that is what we specialize in. And of course, it's important to know that it has, some of these equipments have very hazardous components. For example, we have lead, mercury, cadmium, which is very hazardous when it gets to our water and our soil, causing environmental and health risks. Now, going back to your question, what is the scale? How bad is the electronic waste menace in Africa, and especially in Kenya? Currently, we are looking at about 51,300 metric tons being generated annually in Kenya, and this number is projected to grow heavily. Because, of course, as we've said, because of our appetite, the other thing that has been attributed to the increase is, of course, over time, we have seen some of those gadgets, the prices go lower, so the affordability is quite high. For example, even locally, you have gadgets that are locally assembled, meaning that the prices can be lower and therefore more people are able to access. So the appetite and the affordability has increased the use of the gadgets, which now translates to the e-waste, because again, we have some of these devices with a very short lifespan, meaning they die very fast also. So that's the scale, and it's projected to grow very high. Of course, as I've mentioned, one environmental, we are looking at pollution of our air, our soil, and our water. When we look at the informal sector, we find that some of the things that happen is burning, for example, of cables. This now releases some hazardous gases into the environment, and you'll find that communities around some of these dump sites or where burning is happening, they have respiratory diseases, issues with their breathing system, and of course this puts a risk, to the children and the communities around that area. I've also mentioned about the soil and water pollution. And this has direct impact to the kind of food we are eating, because of course we'll find, very common nowadays is you find just vegetables, kuma, that have very funny looking leaves, big and extra green. And of course there's a very big discussion around the contribution of such to diseases like cancer and others. So therefore that's quite a summary of the impact we have on the environmental impact, due to the hazardous components we are getting from electronic waste. All right. So over time, we've realized that we have to work with the informal sector. And that has been a strategy we've used over the last few years, and it has borne very good results. So apart from the corporates who now understand the need to be able to dispose of the electronic waste properly, the informal sector, we've been able to tap that in terms of just creating green jobs and ensuring that we are creating a lot of awareness to the young people. So as much as they understand, there's also the bit of, some of the little coins they also make out of the electronic waste. So we are creating green jobs, and we are currently, as we center, also doing what we call urban mining, and that is extraction of some of the precious metals from the electronic waste. Currently having trained more than 800 youth and to gain skills around being able to dismantle the electronic waste. Some of them have opened repair shops where they are able even to do repair for, TVs, your phones, your fridge out there. So a key part of this success has been closely working with the informal sector and showing them that indeed, as we clean our environment, the reason why you don't have to burn, some of these equipments is because we are going to pollute our environment, but also provide an alternative by providing job opportunity so that they're able to also earn a living from the same. Locally in Kenya, we are in more than 10 regions where we have our collection centers, and therefore working very closely with the county governments, where we also engage the community so that they are able to be aware of what e-waste is and the reasons why they have to dispose with, an organization like WeCenter, so that those items are properly and safely disposed. So other than just now the counties and the collection centers, we also work very closely with organizations, for example, schools, churches, mosques, universities, very organized institutions. And this helps in terms of just creating more awareness, and they're able to also run their own campaigns, what we call drives, to be able to just spread the message of electronic waste, proper disposal, and then the gadgets are able to be brought into WeCenter for the final treatment. So this shows us as the need to be able to work with other partners, whether corporates, churches, schools, students, and of course not to forget that we are currently in more than 18 African countries where we work with them as partners, and others we also have active offices for WeCenter. Yeah, so I think e-waste sector is huge. There is definitely an opportunity for players to plug in. But of course, WeCenter being the lead in this organization, we've been able to make quite some strides and to lead the way. So I would say, we still have a long way to go. Just to mention, out of the big percentage of e-waste generated, only probably less than 10% is currently properly managed in Kenya. So that shows us that we have a big chunk that is yet to be properly disposed in Kenya, meaning that of course we'll encourage more partners to come in and to assist in this fight. But I believe that as we center, we've been able to at least start the journey. So there is a clear path in terms of how proper electronic waste management is done in Kenya, but of course encouraging more partners to be able to join hands. We'll start, first of all, it's important to note that we are a zero dumping policy, so nothing that comes in as waste or as electronic waste at Waste Center will ever be found somewhere in the environment. So because we are currently deploying or working with circularity in mind, where some of the fractions we get from electronic waste form raw materials to be able to produce other products. For example, we have our shredded plastic, which is used to form some fencing poles. And I think as you moved around, you've been able to see some of the fencing poles we use. Those are our own products. Then we have a couple of products where we're able to do tiles or building blocks, and this is continuous. These are some of the innovations we have at Waste Center because we want to be able to create some products out of the fractions that we get from electronic waste. So basically, to ensure there's circularity in our practices, right from collection. So we ensure we properly collect our electronic waste. Of course, our fleet is well licensed by NEMA and all the other reputable organizations. The e-waste now gets to our center, and as you've seen as you're walking around, we are able now to dismantle as what is happening behind here. And then from there, we'll get the different fractions, whether it is plastic, glass, metal, our motherboards. And then from there, now we go to the next stage where each of these fractions is used as a raw product to something else. That therefore shows our A to Z kind of a solution in terms of electronic waste management.
Now we will take a quick break here on the Technovation Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more.